if this is going to end up being an Americas versus China final, which it most likely will, and if it comes down to Battlegrounds being the deciding factor, which it most likely will, I do think that will be a pretty awesome way to round out the day, because as you were just describing, that lobby with China versus Americas coming down at the end, I think does have the potential to really put down some of the hypest gameplay that we will have seen throughout all 4 days of this tournament so far.
And look at the picks. I saw Slyssa's pick. She chose the George over a Gallywix. We don't know the tribes, which makes it a bit awkward, but they're just picking heroes that don't come last. You know, I didn't see all of the choices, but this just looks like a I'm going to take heroes that survive mode to me. Zarella, absolutely lovely early on. Obviously, they're powerful heroes, but they just don't go wrong very often.
That's a 6-star on the Zarella as well. We see the bans. That is Mech Demon Pirates being banned out of this one. So plenty of token action available for the heroes that favor those things. We see Bill picking up Flurgl. That is, as Lorinda is describing, a hero that does not tend to get last very often. Dog here has a fantastic start on the Zarella, which I think will lead him towards getting a pretty early triple with the amount of gold he is going to have available to himself. Basically, Zarella gets to buy tokens for free with the hero power once per turn, which is pretty sick. Really supports the shiny curve or warrior curve, whatever you want to call it, the super low level, stay on one for a long time, supports that strategy because you do have that ability to get hold of so many pairs and so many tokens using that Zarella hero power to buy things rapidly. And I think as we pan through these early turns and we move over to some of these Europe webcams, we are starting to see just a little bit of resignation on the faces of one or two of the players.
That being said, they've picked up all 3 of the promotional heroes and a patchwork. So something like Diablo wipes out all the Americans on one of the early turns, like turn 8. Patchwork survives on 1 health because he might not be dying at that point, and the 2 good heroes win. That's the scenario.
So you're saying there's a chance. I like it. All right, we've got a game plan. Let's just put it together.
If they knew, now the interesting thing here is if they knew that was the game plan, they could possibly try and at least go for that game plan. Like, all right, all hands on deck, everybody tempo. Diablo's going to try the wipe. Patchwork, don't die, don't do anything stupid. Pick up big numbers.
Wait, also not true, by the way. Collins is on the Diablo. Son has
oh,
a
is he? So I'm lying anyway. Oh, so there is no chance. Collins, you're playing for Europe this game.
Well, I mean, it can still happen. Collins can still accidentally kill the whole of Americas on the Diablo. Everything that you said can still happen. You are still technically correct. It's just that Collins would be doing it accidentally to his own teammates.
Yeah, he then has to lose the next fight with a strong board that wiped out 3 of the best players in the world. But okay.
It can happen. Yeah, it can happen.
Things have happened. Thank you for the save.
I'm trying to stick up for you, you know.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You've always stuck up for the underdog, Sottle. That's very much appreciated.
I mean, I'm known for it. I'd say it's my defining character trait.
Good. Absolutely. What does that make Raven? That's like a paradox we've just invented.
I mean, I wouldn't go that low. Don't just call him names now. Come on.
One person in the world will get that joke if they're watching. Alright. The patchwork has money and nothing else going on, but that's kind of what you'd expect at this point.
Yep. Pretty much. Everyone in the lobby really just farming up these early game boards. Patchwork does have a triple locked. That was a full water droplet triple on board for, who is it? Simi on the Patchwork, ready to go into whatever she wants. She is Patchwork, so she can choose to be greedier with the triple if she would like to, but, you know, I don't think taking 4s is a thing you do because it's a little safe thing that has a nice balance between protecting your health and blah, 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 blah. You take 4s in these kind of lobbies because they're just the best things. They're just what you want to have. So regardless of which hero you have, I do still like tripling into the 4, trying to hit that light spawn. Again, because we are in the business of being lobby winners if you're a European player, right? So you have to go for the best possible strategy, which is hitting that light spawn early.
This has got one of those George boards that looks bad but develops incredibly quickly into something good because the Chroma Wing just gets gigantic on the left hand side and then it buys you the time to do other things with the rest of your board. But it's not obviously ideal at all.
Yeah, not a lot going on just yet.
Pretty strong going into this first fight. I expect Collins to just pick up a full hand here.
Yep, you would think so. Crucially has that Acolyte as well, something that I've talked about a couple of turns. I think it's really important to grab an early taunt as Diablo if you're going to go for it. Because it means, for example, that exact board that Collins just fought against with Simi's Patchwork, she had a nice 6/5 high main up front, which could have just at any time swung right into that into the token minion, taken it down, stolen the prizes away from Collins. But by playing that Acolyte to defend against that, it means that really your opponent is going to have to win the fight straight up to actually be able to challenge that minion on the far right-hand side.
The usual question, which of these ones do you just want to get on the board? It's usually just the secrets, obviously, that kind of have duplicates of sometimes.
Yeah, anything that you have multiple of that you can only play one at a time is usually a good idea. Generally, the ones that actually give you maximum tempo. So +1 to everything is generally the most tempo that you can get from the early ride. Wind Fury can be decent if you have particular minions, but the idea really is to preserve as many of them as possible for a future prize fight again, so that you can transform these poor treasures into slightly better ones further down the line. The big problem with Diablo is, where does that cycle end, right? Because at some point you have to stop just turning treasures into better treasures by winning one particular fight, and you actually have to come up with a way to get strong enough to kill the whole lobby.
We have seen very few Diablos do anything after turn 12. We did see Simi win a lobby that way, but nobody else has really been able to get going with Diablo really after turn 8. You either wipe out the board on turn 8 or you try and survive after turn 8. That's a lot of damage going into that Patchwork for an early game, because you've got no hero power. You can't really take that much damage unless you're taverned up. I don't believe she particularly is. She has got the high main on the board, of course.
Yep, Slysssa tripled into that 4. Didn't really get anything else going. And she is just looking for tempo here. This is a smart decision yet again. We talked about this dynamic extensively yesterday, sorry, but we're in the position where Europe are very much the attackers here and Americas are very much the defenders. So Slysssa here, for example, picking up the Draconid and giving it Divine Shield. That's not a win condition play. She was offered an Avenge minion with the Witchwing Nest Matron that she could have taken and started to get some milk going, but instead she just takes a very, very high tempo minion instead and says, I am just going to defend, and if I start creeping up this board towards 6th place, 5th place, that is just money in the bank, baby, because they need very few points from this position to be able to take this one home guaranteed.
Yeah, and just the unsaid thing there was an Acolyte which she did pick up in the shop for that Nest Matron, like it was the ultimate setup for a ladder game. I'm sure she'd have gone the other way, but she is fine picking up whatever she can here. Just don't come last. None of you come last, and you're through to the grand finals.
It is that simple, right?
Team. Yeah.
Step 1, none of you come last, and then job is done. You don't really have to worry too much after that point.
Yep. Obviously, it's not always in your own hands, but again, they all had hero selections that kind of backed that plan up as well.
Shake of the head from Dog, though. He gets absolutely smoked by Bill on the other side with the Murlocs on Flurgl, which means Dog is going to have to accelerate his plan towards a win condition. He picked up Nomi for scaling on the previous turn with his triple, but he's going to have incredibly limited time with which to scale that Nomi because of that huge, huge smack that Bill picked up. But Bill has secured the Sethin in a timely manner for the Flurgl, and I think you saw the sigh of relief on his face as he realized probably what that meant to him, because it probably means he's not coming last this game, and he knows if him and his teammates can all replicate that position, then he's in business. Sun Glitters we see without a Reno minion, no hero power used just yet, but now finally picked up a Witchwing, which I think she would have hero powered on this turn had she not picked up the golden jug, and now there are options. Now there are options for Golden Sethin, switch over to a very, very fast Poison Murloc scam, or she can go for the play to win the lobby, which I think she absolutely has to do here, pick up the Agam instead. The only real problem now is her complete lack of generation.
Absolutely. Just for a second there, I was thinking this was just be a game-winning triple, obviously, because it quite often is when you get into those fives, and it still can be, but because she's low on health, she doesn't know that Dog is super weak over on the left-hand side, or at least weak, because that Majordomo is going to do some work. She's going for it.
Yep, she commits. She is sticking with the Nest Matron here. I think just the lack of generators for the Agam was just too much to look past there, right? Like, what does she have to do? Roll immediately into multiple Sunbacon relaxes? Because even like a Bonker is too slow in this position, right? Because first and foremost, Bonker doesn't give you gems immediately, so you are weak going into the next fight, which you probably can't afford to be. Secondly, Bonker is already at the point in the lobby where it's probably not big enough to take 2 value trades and actually get you multiple gems over the course of a fight. So she would have to find very, very specific roles to find gem generation to be able to get out of this one. So I certainly don't mind the decision that she's made there.
Mom, my opponent was too weak. They only got 2 gold out of that whole thing, but did put Dog into 8th place. Step 1 of the potential miracle.
All right,
done. 1 down, 3 to go. It's getting.
Dude,
that's the easy one though.
Easiest clean sweep of my life. I've never seen anything this free before.
Absolutely. As always, your journalistic integrity in these spots just shining through.
I mean,
I love it.
That is journalistic integrity, isn't it? I'm declaring my bias. That's something that I'm obligated to do in these situations.
Absolutely. I'm not going to fight you because I am a bona fide American broadcaster. So I'm leveling it all up.
I do think the biggest hurdle for Europe right now, though, in all seriousness, is going to be Bill, because Bill is putting the goods together. No Bran as of yet, which is, you know, a limiting factor as to how big these Murlocs can actually get. But with that early Sephin, he is in such a good position just to be able to tie up a nice, tidy 4th place, right? Which is all that one member of Americas really needs to do in this lobby.
Yeah, and there's no mechs in, right? I don't remember seeing any mechs anywhere, so
no.
You know, Flurgl does have potential to even go beyond that. Not that he needs to go beyond that, but he'll want to because he's Bill. Right, can Collins do everybody on Europe a giant favour?
The secret did hit the Divine Shield on the left-hand side in Simi's fight, but it ended up not being super relevant because it was the Quillbore. It was able to then pick up the Divine Shield again off the Frenzy, attacking into the Acolyte.
Colin got a monster Hydra hit there, taking out the Sephin and 2 other Murlocs in 1 shot, I believe.
Were any other poisons gained? I was watching over on the left. Did he pick up any more poisons before the Sephin went off? Okay.
I was actually watching the same fight as you to start with and thought I'd better see across.
And that is a big deal. And Collins hits gas on that turn. Another full hand of 10 treasures. Diablo has been a real powerhouse performer, certainly overperformed from what I was describing it as at the start of the day. On ladder, again, just to reiterate, a mid-tier 2-ish hero in an average lobby on ladder, but certainly the players in this tournament has shown its utility in this particular format. I still don't think it's necessarily like a demonstration of an increased power level. It's just the utility in this particular format to be able to kill multiple people that aren't you at the same time, which is a really, really big deal when it comes down to these points-based systems.
And he did only kill 1 person, but it was RDU on the cookie. So Americas will be going to the finals, and that will start straight after this lobby. Well, there'll be a short pause, and then it will start after the Americas team sort of get called and get into the China match. And that will start with the Constructed all over again. Everything you've seen today so far, if you've been here since the start, and God bless you if you have, you're going to see it all again, except for even bigger stakes over the next few hours.
And may God have mercy on us all if you have, indeed.
Right. pay attention to who is going to win the lobby, because I mentioned yesterday, they don't just have bragging rights against the other region, but against each other, especially Collins. Like yesterday, they went into the third lobby with nothing on the line, and he won it, and we still got the genuine fist pump out of him. But yeah, I've won another one. He just loves winning games of Hearthstone Battlegrounds.
I tell you what, once again, declaring my bias in the situation, now that this is over at this point, I'm rooting for one thing and one thing only, and that is Sun to win this lobby, because she has had a pretty torturous few days of it so far. So once again, let's find out if there are any waivers in chat who want to throw Sun some support right now, because she does have that golden witch wing. She has picked up the Bran as well to go with it, which is a very, very big deal indeed. And she is looking pretty strong at the moment as she starts to pick apart this lobby. She is now killing teammates. That is Simi now buying the dust. But again, none of this matters. The grand stakes are over. Americas have picked up the dub at this point. For me, I just want Sun to take down a lobby victory.
Got to admit, I'm in exactly the same boat. I know she's saying that she feels she's played badly, and that may or may not be true. There's nothing that we've picked up on over the lobbies we have seen, but I'm willing to believe her. But lumping the pressure onto herself, if she picks up a lobby win here, this one would not be on her in any way or form. Not that I'm saying it is anyway, but she will then know that.
Yeah, going for the win here as well. This is amazing, by the way, because we have no control over this. Normally, on like a normal tournament, I would say that, and then whoever's producing the stream would hear me say that, and because they're good at their job, they would take that as a cue that I wanted to watch Sun more, right? And then that transition would happen where we get to watch Sun afterwards. The person producing this stream is not listening to me whatsoever, and we're still managing to get the calls going that we want to have and following Sun now, which I think is pretty awesome, because she leveled to 6 straight up. I think that is the way to win the lobby, because she's looking for those Amalgadons to go alongside everything else. You can see that Agam that she picked up has long since bitten the dust as well. She's completely discarded that one.
Yeah, that choice was made on the golden choice, right? It's like, which way am I going to go? Am I going to try and get those gems? It looked like that was going to be very hard to set up. So no, just get the free money and things will happen for you. And that's where she went. And she was, she risked dying that turn by not picking a tempo option. She was low on health. And it's looking like she's going to have a chance to stabilize here.
Yep, picks up Light Fang for a turn and probably nothing more than that, just to be able to dump a couple of points of stats, just essentially using it as another buff to cycle in and out of this position. She is going up Diablo, and there is a Bird Buddy that's been picked up for some tempo on the other side as well, but this is pretty much just a mono cleave comp. There is nothing else really going on the other side of the board. It's just hoping to land some big juicy cleaves, and land some big juicy cleaves it will, it's looking like here.
Yeah, there's one.
Ooh. Okay.
But it picks out the things that were nearly dead anyway. But the second cleave's going to be painful.
Oh, that was not the one. That was not the one at all. And I think the dream is about to die once again. There are far too many stats left remaining on the other side of the board. There is an infinite amount of milk rolling into the hand for Sunglitters, but she is about to bite the dust. But Avalyn on the other side lays the absolute smackdown on her opponent that turn. 6-drop elementals flying around everywhere, to the point where now Avalyn is running up the ladder herself. Bill on the Flurgl is the remaining Americas player alongside Sneed on Avalyn. Oh, sorry, Avalyn on Sneed and Collins on the Diablo.
Slysssa was on 29 health on that George and took 35 and died on that turn. It was ridiculous. I didn't see the fight. I was watching the same one as you. And I just looked across and saw all the stars develop. I'm like, this is murderous. And it would be nice to see Avalyn get a good result as well. She's also had a fairly tough tournament. Yeah, for sure. So
for sure.
Looking to see if she can put down the two Americans that seem to be perennially at the top of these leaderboards in every single lobby.
That was an all-time call. That will go down in the annals of history in UK broadcasting legend, by the way. It's up there with the Martin Tyler Aguero! We'll just have clips forever of just Lorinda going, "Ah, right!" Oh, that was legendary. You love to hear it.
I mean, we used to shout "look left" at the casters. Now we shout "look right" at each other. So things have evolved just slowly over time.
That is a reference and a half right there. You want to talk about one person will get that joke from whatever it was I said earlier. I think you'll be lucky if 0.5 people get that one.
Oh, I think they'll get that one. I'm relying on you, chat, which is probably not my smartest move. Alright, settling back down. Avelin's picked up the ghost, so good chance of coming top 2. No, chat let me down, I had a quick look.
Poison value takes out one of Sun's Ghost's biggest minions, and it looks like there is plenty of remainder here for Avalyn to be able to pick this apart, unless this is the thickest Gas Coiler you have ever seen in your life. This board is about to refill and make a mess of this board state. Yep, it's pretty good from here.
Colin survive? He does survive, because that's nothing like 70. That was the other thing I was always terrible at eyeballing. Like, he's on tier 5, there's 2 minions, can he do 98 damage?
Probably not, actually, now that you mention it. But I will check the numbers on that and get back to you later. So yeah, Avalyn is going to get to creep up a little bit further. Both of the Americas players, once again, this is something that they have been very good at, by the way, and to reiterate, I'm using the phrase they're very good at it ironically because it's not something you can do deliberately, but we've seen on multiple occasions the Americas players queue into each other in top 3 with a ghost being fought by the other remaining European player, and they just have not killed each other. It's happened several times in America's lobbies so far, and again, the identities of the players are secret. No one knows who they're queuing into each round outside of which hero they're queuing into, so there's no way the America's players can be doing that deliberately. That is just a stroke of good fortune.
Yeah, and we've seen the boards and everything as well, just to be absolutely 100,000,000% clear here. Like, it's just a thing that's been turning out to happen. Right, this is the most important fight. Well, it's not the most important, it's not relevant at all, but for the players, it's the most important fight of this lobby.
Reborn Rattler with a Myexnet in play. It's a little bit sketchy on Sneed in particular because you have, I believe she has at least one Death Rattle on that Myexnet as well. A little bit buried under the poisonous symbol, but I believe it's there, which means, you know, you can lose your Reborn value here if the Death Rattle and the Reborn try and go off at the same time.
Yep, need the board space, but I think she'll probably have the board space. Take a look on the left, that's where the action is.
I'm amazed that this comp from Collins is still just hanging in. It's still just mono cleave. Like, that's all it is. It's 2 Hydras, and it's just eliminating every board state that he's coming up against.
It is something that we've seen from the top players, though, isn't it? It's like when you don't get the stuff, make something keep you alive and hope the stuff turns up later. It's been a constant theme, obviously throughout ladder, but we're getting to observe it all here in a tournament format. But unless something horrible drops here, it looks like Avalyn is going to get Collins off the board here. Yep. So she's going to get into a head-to-head with Bill.
Finally, the reign of terror for the 2 Hydras has come to an end. Collins is going to bite the dust, but in death, as in life, he goes out laughing as he has been throughout this entire tournament, and we will still see plenty more of Collins when we come back around to Battlegrounds in the finals many, many hours from now once we've got through Constructed and Mercenaries yet again. But as you set up, we are now on a straight-up 1-to-1 Europe versus America's final. One final chance for some bragging rights to come out of this for Avalyn to say that she was able to take down a lobby against the strongest team in the tournament. I don't think there is any doubt about that at this point. Relative strength for one discipline, for one region, the America's Battlegrounds team just seems to take the cake.
Yeah, and you've set that up nicely for later because China are probably the second strongest from what we've seen in this tournament. That might not be true. We've only seen a few lobbies, but Island Cat himself is worth 1.5 players from what we've seen. But it'll be interesting to see if he can compete even continuously with just the American players on his own, let alone how his teammates go on. Avalyn did lose the boss fight against Bill last time around. She lived because it wasn't the major fight. She has improved by 1 doggo since then, so this could be pretty close. Bill has finally got 1 extra poison, but he hasn't really found all of them.
Look at her face, by the way. Like, we've been dismissing this for quite some time. She wants this. She wants to win this lobby 100%. She is very, very nervous going into this fight. I am going to pay 0 attention to what those numbers say at the top, because this is a Sneed fight, and they are utterly meaningless in most situations when it comes to Sneed. But unless there are stacks upon stacks upon stacks of death rattles on these minions, I think Av is going to still be in a little bit of trouble here.
If you want to highlight as to how useless those numbers are, the average damage if she wins is between 7 and 47, which I could tell you.
Yes, it's somewhere between the least amount of damage you can possibly do and the biggest amount of damage you can possibly do in a single
-1
fight.
For some reason.
Yes, I am indeed very intelligent. Thank you very much.
Just in case, it's never going to be 48, but 47, sure, it's on the cards.
Yeah. I mean, that does make sense, right? Because the Baron doesn't have a death rattle. Like, the Baron can never transform into a 6-drop, I suppose, is what's happening there. So.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it kind of can, right? Because there's 3 6-drops there. So if the Baron had cleared a space and then 3 6-drops had taken its place...
Anyway, it's not over, but she did lose the 60%er. So she gets a chance to find Golden Dog, amongst several other pieces. I suspect she needs to really get into this. Golden Baron?
Certainly.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, I think Golden Baron would probably be a better piece for her to find than the Golden Wolf. It's just further away, right? Because she started the term with 2 Wolves, 1 Baron. But, you know, just by nature of being Sneed, there's always a bit of scam potential if you have a Golden Baron on your board.
Yep.
Doesn't find it, though. And there, that look of hope has turned to a look of resignation very rapidly. I think she will put a little bit of false hope in those numbers that she probably saw on her deck tracker as well, but I don't think they are anywhere close to accurate in the actual representation of what's going to happen in this fight.
The amusing thing here, by the way, is that, I mean, it matters for personal pride, it matters for bragging rights, it matters for how you've done in the tournament, but this match doesn't matter, and they know it. Like, all the damage has been done. They just don't know who won the damage. If America's a bottom 4, Europe won. And if they're not, they didn't. So this doesn't even matter to the players, again, outside of the massive personal pride on the line.
But it is just a matter of pride, right? Like, I think the Europe team would have had a lot of pressure on them coming into this. And I think they would have felt that pressure to perform. I think... you know, they would have been very, very happy to prove a few people wrong in this exact kind of scenario. It hasn't quite panned out that way, and the numbers, if anything about them is to be believed, have even gone down in this situation. Although that good old average damage is right back where it was before.
Yeah, it is within so many standard deviations, so perhaps the 48 is quite a rare beast. Oddly enough.
You would imagine so. Yeah, because, like, for the board to fill with 6s, right, like, you'd have to get something with the Gas Coiler dropping multiple 6s and then being duplicated off the Baron to actually fill the board up with 6s. Then the Baron would have to die to clear the 5 off the board. Then the Myexna would have to die to then refill the board with 6s, right? And that would have to then be lethal at that exact point for it to be 48. So that does sound like it happens less than 1 in every 1,000 times, yes.
Absolutely, and Evelyn does come second. She looks distraught. That's a great performance for her on Sneed in this final lobby. She can hold her head high there, putting up the fight that Europe needed in this last lobby. But once again, it is Bill. Once again, it is America with a very strong result.
Size check.
What does that mean?
Size matters, so people can check out what size they are by typing the command size. See if they're chonkers or dinkers or average or growers or showers.